Okay, I really want to see this board meeting. There's going to be a lot of episodes to get through this.
And I want to first invite Director Edwards to provide an update from the latest meeting on the Committee on Accessible Transportation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I was not able to attend the meeting, but I do have minutes, thanks to staff. They had nominations. CAT had recently had their nominations. Jan Campbell, Dave Daly, Patricia Kepler, Chris Megger, A.J. Earl, and Trey Madden are the new officers. Re-elected were the CAT chair, Jan Campbell.
By the way, the CAT committee opposed vehemently the fare increase, and they got listened to just like all the other people.
Campbell, as well as Patricia Kepler. We had staff updates that were reported by Eileen Collins, and the June CAT meeting is going to be an annual luncheon, and they'll need RSVPs, of course, for those that are planning on attending. Hopefully we'll have Lori attend as well if she's able. The other update is about the USERV, which is being used for lift services. They have been brought on board, and there's going to be a campaign that's going to be giving information out and make sure that everyone is informed and knows how to engage and use the USERV to better the service for Lyft that needs some improvement. There are also comments that were made about the introduction of USERV and them being a service partner. And the questions were concerned about the training requirements that are required for them to be able to be used by TRIMET and the vetting process as well, and the service district boundaries that were going to be used. The committee also had some concerns about the reliability of the elevator service throughout the district, and we've been talking about that for several months, but there is a pilot program that's going to be using some different methods on try to improve the elevator service and make sure the elevators are accessible and usable by those that need that service. There's been some challenges with vandalism. There's challenges with homeless folks, and just a lot of challenges that go along with that, but we're working on it and trying to get that addressed. There was also a report given regarding the budget and how that's going to impact those that have accessibility issues as well, and where the monies from the budget are going to be coming to help those that have accessibility issues. And there was a very good report that we received, and the CAT was pleased with that report and pleased with the budget. That pretty much completes my report.
Wow, that was great, Edwards.
That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Director Edwards. Does anyone on the board have any questions? Hearing none, I will move on now to the next update is from Director Kim on the Metro Policy Advisory Committee.
Thank you, President Simmons. Well, first of all, I echo your sentiment about thanking all of our attendees today, making personal sacrifices to come out here. For the MPEC summary of the April 26th meeting, at the meeting, Metro provided an update on their 2040 Planning and Development Grants Program and highlighted their 2020 program grantees. During this grant cycle, the program will provide financial support to help cities and counties do the work to support planning efforts to get land ready for development in the Metro region. Metro also provided an update on the Regional Transportation Plan draft project list and a preliminary analysis of how that draft list impacts regional goals regarding mobility, equity, climate, safety, and the economy. TriMet's proposed projects are included in that list.
What?
Initial analysis of these investments show that the draft project list makes progress towards regional goals with further analysis and public engagement opportunities.
Further analysis and public engagement. Are we tired of hearing this ever? Further analysis, which means more bureaucratic money, and public engagement, which they've just proved means nothing. They've just proved that to us. course, we haven't gotten to that part of that meeting yet, but we already know how it happened.
Opportunities to come. MPAC meets again
Kathy looks bored, doesn't she? She's, she's had enough of this shit show.
tonight to further discuss the results of the RTP project list assessment, as well as an update on the Oregon housing needs.
I think Kathy actually cares. I think she's like a believer, but she's stuck, just like everybody else, in a freight train that you can't stop. You can't change anything. Everybody's doing what they're told to do. This is a nation of bootlickers. And everybody's making money. All the people making money off the TRIMET, thousands of people, including me. I make money off of them too. I get a pension, but I work for it. I provided an actual service. So I feel good about my pension. I actually provided the public with service, and I provided good service.
Needs analysis and the high capacity transit draft strategy report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kim. Does anyone have any questions on the Metro Policy Advisory? Seeing none, I now move on for our next report this morning with Director Way, who will provide an update on the Transit Advisory, Equity Advisory Committee. Director Way?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, board. So I have the honor of reading through some of the highlights and the key points from the May TIAC committee. So a lot of this is going to overlap with some of the presentation received by Director Edwards' CAT committee. So the first is TRIMET staff provided an overview of the budget. This outlines the budget's various revenue sources at the local level, and then also moving on to cost allocations, restrictive versus unrestricted funds. And staff noted that TRIMET is the most prominent transit entity in the region with a contingency of 3%. There was a lot of exchange and questions from our TIAC members. They were very eager to ask questions around the budget, ranging from how does the current fare increase proposal help TRIMET, as well as performance and budget measures that TRIMET and TIAC tracks as it relates to equity, and then also how
Equity. They talk about equity, and in the next minute they raise the fare. So there's no equity, and they're all gaslighting you, including Kathy in this case.
often does TRIMET review its revenue sources capabilities. Overall, the general sentiment of the group is that they just needed more of an in-depth discussion to really learn about all of the different components of the budget, allocations, and really just again directly weigh in more on how the budget process begins and how that community engagement will look like year to year. And then there's also a presentation about the Hollywood Elevator Access Pilot Project that Director Edwards mentioned in his committee. Again, this is a pilot to really get some community feedback around what is the strategy for improving elevator reliability. And so TIAC members did note that they did express some concerns over lack of access to hop cards. So the current proposal around the elevator is that only those with hop cards would be allowed to use the elevator, but there was just some questions around that particular piece, as well as the security presence that is currently in that area. TRIMET does not have the personnel to staff the station during max operation hours, which is why the security staff is assisting with this pilot. And then members asked what kind of data is being looked at, just again around the interactions between folks who use the Hollywood Transit Center and then the particular elevators. And then last but not least, but also very important as it relates to the fare increase, there was an option to do a vote on the proposed fare increase with TIAC members. There was not a quorum to do a formal vote, However, there was a straw poll that was done to gather TIAC members' thoughts either in favor or opposition of the proposed fare increase. And the result of that is that the majority of TIAC members in attendance were in opposition to the
Opposition, good for you. They don't care what you think. Have you figured it out now? Have you public finally got to the point that these people are not there for you? Okay, they're not.
proposed fare increase. There were 2 members that abstained. TIAC, one of the more active TIAC members, Opal Bus Riders Unite, also submitted a draft letter with their concerns around the proposed fare increase. And I just want to also read into the record that these were the organizations present at the meeting that voted against the fare increase. And some of these organizations were, you heard from earlier, Latino Network, the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, Mount Hood Community College, Portland State University, Clackamas Community College, Portland Community College, our very own Committee on Accessible Transit, and then obviously Bus Riders Unite and Opal. So these were the organizations that were in opposition to the fare increase.
Everybody opposed it. 99% of everybody opposed it, and you did it anyway.
That were present at the TIAC board meeting.
That concludes your
Ooh.
report.
They don't like that. You made some comments that Linda Simmons, the Nazi of the board, won't like now.
Yes, thank you. That concludes my report, and
Thank you.
happy to take questions.
Thank you, Director Way. Any comments or, okay, thank you so much. Our final, excuse me, our final committee report this morning comes to us from Vice President Irish Bauman, who's
Vice President Irish. These 2 hags are gone. Thank God. But we get 2 more insiders. I mean, they're interchangeable, just like transit executives. They just move around, and they're all the same. They're interchangeable. They're like little dolls or something. You just move them around.
going to update us on the Finance and Audit Committee. Director Bauman?
Yes, good morning. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
night.
Still is
Good
morning.
morning to you.
The Finance and Audit Committee met this morning before the board meeting, and there are 3 items that I'd like to report on. The first is that it is audit season, and we received a report from the audit team at Eide Bailly, our auditor in their second year working with the agency. They met with us to communicate the standards that the auditor must meet, and that's specifically to ensure that the financial condition of the agency is fairly stated in its financial reports. The audit has 3 phases. We're just in the first phase, and the final audit report will be released in November. The second item on the agenda was Shelley Devine presented regarding the defined benefits plans that TRIMET has. There are 2 of those plans, and the staff is developing a new approach for funding those plans, and the board will be hearing more about that in the future. We just received a kind of a preliminary report on some of those efforts to keep those plans in good financial shape. And finally, we heard from Nancy Young Oliver about the budget, this year's, the budget coming up for this year, which the board will vote on later in this meeting. There has been some fine-tuning between the proposed and adopted budgets, and so we heard details on that, but I want to thank and congratulate the budget team for all the good work that they've done preparing the budget this year as we plan to vote today.
Yes, no credibility
and
at
that's
all.
the end of the report.
Yeah, great,
Thank you,
lovely.
Director Bauman. Thank you, Director Bauman. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I'm now going to move to the General Manager for his
All right. That's enough for this episode. Completely boring.